it takes a lot out of you and it takes a lot of energy out of you. And we fix things for a living. And it's hard when you feel like something is broken, which is why this isn't working and you can't fix it. No amount of money will fix this, right? Like we can spend thousands of dollars, but it comes down to, will it work this time or will it not?
Welcome to the Our Family Invest podcast, where we explore what happens when family, purpose, and entrepreneurship align. I'm Mike, a former Maui firefighter who reached financial freedom in just 5 years through real estate investing.
And I'm Caroline, a Maui-based realtor here to educate, empower, and elevate my clients to make smart real estate moves, whether right here at home or through my nationwide network.
Together, we're chasing our full potential as individuals, as a couple, and as a family. We're here to build a life that matters. And each week we share the stories of couples who inspire us to love harder, dream bigger, and grow bolder. So join us and let's learn, share, and grow together. Today we're excited to introduce Aamir and Anam Hashambhai, two Dallas-based real estate investors who have amassed an impressive $30 million in assets under management. Aamir is a full-blooded entrepreneur who took his family's struggling business and turned it into a profitable venture with record-breaking growth, all while he's still in high school. Anam, equally remarkable, also grew up in an entrepreneurial family, working in the family business at just 13 years old. After excelling in school and graduating from SMU, she pursued a successful career in marketing, earning a spot on Automotive News' prestigious 40 Under 40 list. Shortly after, she joined forces with Aamir. Together, they've built a thriving real estate portfolio, becoming millionaires in their 20s. Their journey is proof of what's possible when hard work, vision, and teamwork come together. All right, you two, you're young, entrepreneurial, you're savage, but I want to know each of you who you are at your core. So I want to know, who is Aamir when nobody's looking, and who is the Anam that only you know? But here's the twist. I want you to answer for each other. So Anam, you go first. Who is Aamir?
Okay, so a lot of people, so the way most people know Aamir is that they think he's a very quiet individual, very timid. He cares about business and it is all about business, right? But when when you come home and it's just the two of us, he is probably the sweetest person. Obviously I'm biased because I'm his wife. But the sweetest person I know, but he actually genuinely cares about everything we put our mind to or put any effort behind. So whether it's like for family things or for our business things or even just our relationship, he goes the extra mile because he cares. And there's no 90% or 95% with this guy. It is 100% or nothing. So I'm not going to lie, because sometimes I maybe come in at 99% because I'm just tired by the end of the day. But there is no 99% with this man. It's only 100, which is a really great quality to have and to always have. So slight perfectionist. He's not a quiet person once you're at home. He's a very talkative person to where you might have to tune him out after a little bit of time, but he's just very driven and one of the smartest people I know.
Wow. Follow that up, Aamir.
Oh, that was a good one. So for Anam, she's the opposite of me. So like everything that I can possibly know how to do or anything, she handles the other side of that. She's the more social one. She's the more interactive one. She's the one that cares more so about putting things together in terms of like our actual lives, not like work stuff, like as in like, family gatherings or like, meetups or anything social related or whatever. So she's the one that's very people friendly and just like cares more about people and just puts things together. She also is like her heart is like very like anytime anybody says like even the slightest thing, she'll pick up on cues and like if my mom had mentioned some random thing that she wanted, she'll pick up on that cue, have it ordered and sent over to her house. She's that type of person.
That's amazing.
I can attest to that. Anam is so thoughtful, but also so driven and so business savvy. Okay, but let's take it back before all of the accolades. How did you meet and who made the first move?
Okay, so we met 2006, so 19 years ago.
Yeah.
19 years ago.
Yeah.
I think he was 15, I was 13. We met through a mutual friend, just so random, like very random. He had moved from California probably a few years prior, but I just never ran into him. So we went to the same mosque, separate high school or middle schools and high school. So it's different school systems, but we live 5 minutes from each other. And so we just met through mutual friends. And in my opinion, he was the first one who made the move because I was in a car accident the same day we met for the first time ever. And I had gotten a random text from a random person and it was him. And it was like, hey, I heard you were in a car accident, just checking in and hoping you're okay. So I don't think he know, like the fact that he sent that text message out completely changed the course of his life. And it was like a random person. Like I was random to him, he was random to me. And we were so young. And also text messages weren't free back then. They were like 25 cents per message. So to spend the money to send a text meant a lot.
Wow. Okay, so you're text messaging and you're 13 years old. So mom and dad are like, who's this dude that's texting you? And how did that go?
Oh, my mom.
I don't think they knew for at least a good while. I think it was at least like a year or so.
A year probably.
I think, okay, so her mom was the first one to find out. And I think that was at least a year into our relationship. And then I think we slowly introduced me to her dad, which was like probably year 2 of the relationship. So we kind of eased into it. But yeah, her dad was definitely the scary one. So we didn't want to just, run right into that. Her mom was a little bit more relaxed about this.
Wow. So how are you keeping a relationship under wraps when you're that young? You don't have vehicles yourselves, right? I mean, maybe you do at this time, Aamir, but like Anam,
Not yet.
Not yet.
Yeah, because I didn't get my car until I was probably like 17 or so.
But you would take your dad's car occasionally to meet up, like very, very. We had one friend who had a car because he got his license at the age of 15. I forgot what it's called, where you can get it early. And that was his best friend and one of my really good friends. And so that is really essentially how we were able to meet, if it was outside of like mosque or like we both played football. Yeah, we would both play football on Sundays. So I played flag football, you played flag football and regular football, but like on Sundays, a lot of kids from our mosque would get together on a field nearby and we would play football from like 9 a.m. to like 12 every Sunday. So that was like we had like other ways to hang out and like,
it wouldn't be like a very often thing. It would be like maybe once or twice a week we would see each other. But yeah, we would text or call or whatever.
That's so cool. Okay. So fast forward, you're still really young and now your family knows. What was the moment that you realized, I want to spend the rest of my life with you?
Yeah, you can answer that one since you're the one that proposed.
Yeah, I think there was one summer where we had got like really close to where like we were doing almost, I'd say like year 3-ish or so, somewhere around there. But like, yeah, we were pretty much doing like everything together. We were hanging out. We were just like, even if we were not doing anything, we were just hanging out with each other and just like, if we were just watching TV together, we would just do stuff together, like pretty much everything. And I think some point around then, I don't know if we both realized, but
I think
one of us realized that this is awesome. This can work.
Yeah, I think it was, I don't know. It's like what we always say is I don't even know if there's a clear answer for me either. It just worked and it felt easy and it became my best friend along the way. And so it just, I don't know, it worked. And we're big believers on you have to constantly be putting into like your relationship. So like, I think that's probably why it's lasted for however long it has. It's because it's not like we just set it and forget it. We do try to realign ourselves. We try to go back to like where we started or roots and be like, remember, this is how it was before. And this is what made us happy and successful, because life, as you get older, more life starts happening to you, right? So I don't know if there was I think it was just always, we made each other happy and it was just perfect and easy and we liked each other. We didn't ever hate each other.
That's great.
Did you propose when you were 18?
No, it was
late.
2019, which I think.
No, we got married in 2019. 2017 was
17.
Yeah. Yeah, 2017. 11 years after we got together. It's because
go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say the reason why most people, if you're like high school sweethearts, get married young and like all that stuff. We didn't, because we couldn't afford a wedding probably and a ring. Second was we started our business together before basically being like, okay, let's go ahead and get engaged and pay for a wedding. So we flipped it because we were like, well, it's not like we're going to leave each other,
Yeah.
right?
There was a difference. I mean, like at one point we were living together. We were hanging out every single day. There was no difference in getting married other than paying for 300 people to come to a wedding. So we kind of just pushed it off until a good point.
I think that's really interesting. And I think that's great, right? Like, I think a lot of people rush into marriage pretty easily. And a lot of times it doesn't work out. And especially, you two got together when you're very, very young, and people change a lot. People mature. Like, I mean, I probably didn't mature until I was 28, so like it took me a little longer than most probably. But, people go through these changes, and you guys were able to grow together. And I think by maybe putting pause on, sanctifying it as marriage, I suppose you were able to grow together to make sure that this is really, the right move for you guys. So you're in business together, but, this is because I think we skipped a chapter or so here because Anam, you went and you're working, you're like crushing it as 40 under 40. So like, what made you decide to like drop all of your marketing and jump in with Aamir and work together with him?
So it was a hard decision to make because I really did love what I did. And it was a good creative outlet for me and made good money. I think so. When we started our business in 2017, we started it like together, right? Obviously. And like I was working full time and he was helping full time, or he was like running his family business full time, right? And so both of us were like maybe 50% committed into our real estate journey. And I don't think either of us had the time to put in the 100%, right? So that's why our growth was really slow. But I think once we picked up steam post COVID, which was 2020, I think when we picked up that steam that year, I think we realized the reward you get with actually putting in a lot more time and effort into the real estate side of it. And it just became more and more enticing to be like, man, I didn't ever hate it, but you get like, man, I don't want to wake up and I don't want to go to a job for someone else and get paid to do something for someone else. When if I took that time and just built something for ourselves and 10x'd it or even doubled it, it would pay us tenfold than going to a job, because you'll get maxed at some point in your career. And like you'll never be able to give 100% to what you're trying to build on your nights and weekends, because it's going to be a nights and weekends job, right? So I think when it came up against I think it was that year we were pacing to do 20 deals,
Yeah.
20 deals total, which was like double the prior year. I think I came to him and was like, I don't think physically I have it in me to be doing this corporate level job or executive level at this point job and scaling our business, which we didn't just like buy turnkey, we would buy full guts. Yeah. So it was like managing large projects. And then we also at this point now have built a pretty substantial rental portfolio. So then it's also managing tenants and turnovers. And it was just impossible to try to do all of that while having a quote, quote, traditional 9 to 5. And I think it was the same time he started, right? Like you could talk.
Yeah. So like, I think it was just because like at one point there was just not enough time in the day, right? And so it was whether you choose to focus on our business while we're trying to grow it, or you just say, all right, we'll leave some of the tasks in the back burner and not finish it for that day and, finish our corporate work. So it was like, where do you like, we sat down and had a conversation about this, and we were just like, is it now time? Is it now time? Like, so like I got into it fully a little bit earlier, like I went probably full time about a year before she did. And then at some point we were like, all right, we'll figure it out. Like we can still run our household expenses and stuff based off of what I do, so that she could quit, and then we could actually sit down and, scale this even further. And COVID was a great time to do this also, just because we had so much time. So like we would literally come home and it'd be like 11 or 12 o'clock in the middle of the day. We would have nothing to do for the rest of the day. We would sit there and just think about this and how we can scale and how we can get bigger, or what we can do differently, where we can cut expenses, and all these other little things that worked out to become a larger thing.
That's so good. You're right. Like COVID, you had all that time. That's amazing because you used it to maximize where you're going. One other thing in there is like, you weren't flipping houses at this time, right? You guys were buying, rehabbing, renting, refinancing, repeating. You were BRRRR method investors at that stage, right? So now you're not just like taking one, flipping it, you're amassing a pretty good sized portfolio. So it becomes even harder when you're managing that yourself. So take us through, like, obviously the market changed a little bit over the last couple of years, and you guys had to pivot as well, right? So you went from being kind of strict BRRRR investors to starting to flip properties. How did that transition work, and what were the benefits that came from that?
So one of the biggest things at one point is like we would wait to refinance some of these like as we gathered a few, right? It wouldn't just be like do one, put a tenant in there, refinance it, get the money back after the next one. We would just, it would be a constant flow. At this point, like probably a year and a half or so ago, we have like fully built out teams in every segment of our business. So it was just more like we're just going and going and going. And then some point in the year, we'll gather like 5 or 7 of them, refinance them. And then these refinances started turning into, instead of cash out or rate and term refinances where you're not bringing any money to the table, now they're becoming cash in refinances because the rates don't make sense with the DSCR ratios. And so lenders are saying, okay, in order for us to refi these, now you're gonna have to bring money to the table for us to close. And we're like, okay. So we did 1 or 2 of those packs and, we had to bring money to the table, but this was starting to become normal thing. And we're like, I don't know if we can actually afford to keep refinancing this. And while we're putting money into rentals to purchase them, also putting money back into refinance them. So we're double doing it. And, by the time you look at it now, you're leaving 30, 40, 50 grand into a rental. And you're like, I don't know if this is not a sustainable model, right? Like we don't have like a unlimited amount of cash that we just have sitting on. So it just became an unsustainable model. And at that point, we were like, we need to change something. And that's when we started doing the flips.
Okay. So now you're flipping. Are you still acquiring? Are you still buying? Are you still holding any of them? Or are you just strictly flipping at this stage?
So last year we tried to do a hybrid because it just felt like that's our core, right? We didn't want to get too far from our core. But we're paying the price now. On the ones that we did decide to be like, let's keep them. So as of now, this year is we're 5 months into the year. We have not bought anything that we're holding. Everything has been exclusively flips, which is it kind of kills us a little bit on the inside, but it just financially probably makes the most sense, especially in our market. I know there's markets out there that are going to argue and say, oh no, BRRRRs are still working all day long. DFW has the benefit of the fact that values rapidly increased alongside taxes and insurance. Rents did not rapidly increase alongside any of those other 3, which means I can only charge a certain amount in rent. No matter how much I think I should be charging, I can only do what the market dictates. But our values are coming in higher. Our taxes have almost gone up 30, 40% on some properties.
Yeah.
And insurance have doubled.
Insurance. It just went through.
Yeah. So I think that's the only reason why it just doesn't pencil out here for us. And I think that's what kills us a little bit, but it doesn't mean we won't go back to it. The minute the market turns, you better believe we're going probably back to rentals.
Yeah.
And you still have your rentals. You didn't decimate your portfolio.
No, we didn't sell them because those loans are already placed. They're there for a while. We were going to sell those, but we knew that, just forward looking, 6 months, 12 months, that it would be a cash crunch at some point down the road, which is why we changed the model.
Yeah, I think it's smart that you guys decided, when the road started to turn uphill, that it wasn't worth pushing a boulder uphill and instead figuring out how to pivot. So I don't think DFW is the only market where the numbers don't make sense. I think the vast majority of markets in the United States don't make sense because of all the reasons that you talked about right there. It was we saw the same thing here. We saw properties that we own free and clear which should be like cash cows, right? And they were cash cows when the market was good, but we saw insurance spike almost double. We saw property taxes almost double. We've seen HOA fees almost double. And, because, for us, we're in a lot of short-term rentals, we saw, revenue decrease, nightly rates decrease, and that's not uncommon. And so when you see that kind of compression, it's like, well, this doesn't make sense anymore. So if I have a business that I'm built around this and I can't make the numbers work, I can either choose to go out of business or to pivot. So we decided pivoting would be the right move for us. And it sounds like you guys did too. And I think that's the smart move. And it's not like we're not keeping an eye on what's going on. If the market changes, if the numbers make sense again, then we can go back to what makes sense, right? But by staying rigid and trying to force something, you can go out of business real quick.
Yeah, I think that's the best thing because like when you build out infrastructure like this, like like to have teams and processes and all these things that we use, like apps and everything that we use on a daily basis, it's hard to just turn everything off and then all of a sudden the market's better and then you just flip everything back on. It's just not going to happen. And it's not going to happen. If it does happen, it's not going to happen quickly. So the infrastructure is the most important part. It's not even that you're just doing deals or you're doing this or you're doing that. It's that the teams that you have built, the processes that you built, and to keep all of that just moving along, I think that's more important than the deal itself.
So is this about the time where 1121 Capital comes in?
This is, yeah. This is definitely
walk us through that.
Yeah. So we were, around this time, we were also just thinking about like how much cash we're leaving into the deals and how much cash we're going to need to be doing flips and stuff. And then our price points are not going to be like, we're not the same as rentals, right? Rentals were a little bit lower on the price scale. In DFW, like your base is like $150,000 to $300,000, somewhere in that price point is where rentals make sense. At least for us, it did. And then now we're doing flips, and like these projects are getting up to the $1 million price point, or even higher than the $1 million price point in some parts. And we realized that this is a good time to get others involved, and also we've been asked a lot of like if people can get involved into our deals. So this was a perfect time where we were like, let's create a model where others can get involved. It helps us out because we can get more cash into the system so that we can take on more deals. And then that's how we created 1121 Capital, which is our financing arm, basically. And we bring in other investors, and then they invest with us on different deals, and then they get a percentage of the returns on it.
That's super smart. I think, I've seen a lot of people move that direction where it's like, look, the numbers don't make a lot of sense with purchasing stuff right now, but it kind of makes sense as a lender, right? So I know we've done a little bit of private money lending, and we've invested in funds and things like that do lending. And you guys are taking it because you know what you can do, but money can be expensive. So now you're able to be the people who take the money in and provide pretty good returns because you know your product so well. That's awesome, guys. But when you take in money like that, you have a lot of pressures on you that you didn't have before. So what does pressure look like in your world? How does that feel? And how do you keep from letting it break you?
It depends on the day. if it did break me or not, just depends on the day. Honestly, it's every day is the pressure of the day. I don't even know how to say it. It's every day is a different thing that causes us to have like the pressure for that day. I guess that doesn't even make sense, but it kind of makes sense. But so it's that like on certain, like on payroll days, it's like you want to make sure we have everything like for all of our, people that work for us. We have a huge team and we've built a huge infrastructure, and to keep the lights on and keep that going takes a lot of time and effort and diligence and planning for us to be able to do that. So that's one of the biggest pressures we feel, is to make sure the lights are always on, right? Like, it's not just for us. We probably have about 40 to 50 people on any given day that are actively working for us. So it's those families, right? Those kids. So there's a pressure of, if we don't succeed, it will affect them. And if it affects them, it affects their family. And again, it goes back to, I care a lot about family, like people's kids. And like, so like, then I started thinking about, I'm like, oh my God, if we can't get this deal done and we can't get it sold, we halt our business because we have 4 homes on the market that aren't, like there's a whole, domino effect. So I think that's the pressure I feel. And then that pressure then translates to all the people I interact with. So like my agents hear from me every morning probably. And I'm like, what is the update on our home? What's the status? Have you heard from anyone? Very on top of it. And I think they feel that pressure when I start feeling that pressure, when I feel like things are changing. Cause like one shift in the market can also change the business model all day long, right? Like whether like today when the Fed talked, for example, right? So like you have a lot of people that are waiting. So the market gets really quiet for a week or two before the Feds talk because everyone's like, rates are going to drop today. Yeah. I am going to wait. Even though there's probably no indication that's going to say that, it's a mental thing. They're like, oh, I'm just going to wait till this day to then offer on a home, right? That stalls the market, which then stalls inventory. We have like 3 to 4 homes at any given time going online. So like we will always have something that's on market just because of the volume we're doing this year. So like everything that is said in the news causes a new day, like a new thing that we then worry about or can't sleep about.
But on the flip side, it's also nice because between having all these investors and between having all these teammates, it also pushes us to keep going too, right? There's never downtime. It's a constant go situation, you know, it's like, we got to make sure people are working. We got to make sure investors' capitals are, you know, like in deals and like applying so that they're getting returns. And it's just a constant go. So it helps us grow too as a company. So then we're always adding.
Yeah, that's actually interesting take. It evolves so much and there's so many arms of it that you don't really have time to stay in the stress. Hey family, real quick, if you'd rather watch your content, head over to Our Family Invests on YouTube. You'll find this episode and all our episodes over there. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your takeaways in the comments. Now, back to the show. Because you're moving on to something else. Yeah, that's interesting.
Different stress.
Different kind of stress. Okay, so as far, like, really glad that you guys pivoted and you're doing so well and supporting so many families and still making the fluctuation of the market work. You've also been on a fertility journey, which you've shared a little bit about. And a lot of people think that, hey, we're making the money, like now we want to have kids, and then it doesn't happen. How has that affected your work mode and, you know, pulled you two together or apart? Because a lot of people face this struggle.
So I can tell you my take, and he probably has his own opinion too. I will say it's one of those, it's it's a journey that I didn't think we would be on for how long we've been on it. With the advancements in technology these days and science, you would think this is a faster, you know, solution that is available to people who struggle like us. And I think it's 1 in 6 couples struggle to have a kid. But what's hard is yeah, it takes a lot out of you and it takes a lot of energy out of you. And we fix things for a living. And it's hard when you feel like something is broken, which is why this isn't working and you can't fix it. No amount of money will fix this, right? Like we can spend thousands of dollars, but it comes down to, will it work this time or will it not, right? Like we've changed, I think so much. We've done so many different types of treatment. We've changed diet, lifestyle. And I, for the last 6 months, I've probably taken a huge step back in our business too, more than I normally would or feel comfortable with. And that's probably because it's one of the last things that are left that the doctors say, like, you need to drop your stress levels. You need to drop your stress levels. Like you need to start focusing a little bit more on you or anything else. Right. Like, and so I think that it's just a hard journey to be on for this long. And then it's hard to have to pull away from things you love, like work and what we do, to hope you get whatever this end goal is. But I'm not going to say it doesn't get easier. It definitely gets harder, and you have to wake up every day and like find the hope in the day to be like, okay, let's keep going. It will work out. But it isn't easy when you're trying to, scale a business and keep your marriage not like, intact too. Like it's not an easy thing to just throw into the mix and be like, yeah, it's just a couple of shots and like, boom, you get to pick, do you want a boy or girl? And you get to have a kid, right? Only it was that easy.
Yeah. And it's physically tolling too. So yeah. It's even if you want to be at 100, you sometimes aren't able to be. But
you just can't.
Yeah, I'm super proud of you guys. And Aamir, I mean, how is it for you being supportive? And there are the highs and lows that you may not have time for or expect. So how do you navigate that while still running a thriving business?
I mean, as I see it, it's like she's going through like most of it, right? And like it's like she has to go to all these doctor's appointments. I'm there for her support, and I'm always there with her. But like I feel like there's only so much that I could possibly even do because I don't know much about the field. Like we're learning as we're going through it together, but it's just not like, even if we have conversations with a doctor, there's only so much you can input because you're just kind of taking it on what they're saying and then you're coming over doing your own research. Um, but as far as like any treatment or shots and stuff, like I can only be there to support her and be there next to her while she's screaming in pain or whatever the case may be for that day. And I mean, we're just going through it. So like, it's tough, but, what you gotta do.
But still moving forward together. And I think one of the things that you guys have shared before was that you had this rule that if you are irritable with each other at dinner time, it all just like goes away at 6 o'clock.
Yeah, you have to share that again because you told us about this before, where it's like business, business, business off, right?
My mind. Yeah.
So that's what it is. Like, it's like, cause we'll go at it, right? Like, at 7 o'clock we turn on and it's like our phones are going off or text messages are coming in and everything hot for the day is starting to hit the fans. And then, you're solving problems all day. And then there's things that we, go at it each other about because like there's stuff in our business that she handles and there's stuff that I handle. And if her stuff is like not ready on time or my stuff's not ready on time, it kind of clashes with each other's, right? Because like she has certain vendors she deals with and she has schedules for them. And if my guys are not done with whatever they're supposed to get done right now, there's issues. And so we go at it throughout the day, but in a I mean, if you were an outsider coming into like our environment and seeing each other, you would not think we're married. But but we'll go at it. But I think at like you guys said, like somewhere around like 6 or 7, like we dial out and like that's it. Like whatever is done for the day, and then we get together, have a good dinner, and we go enjoy being with each other. Yeah, we just turn off. Like we just know it's second. Like our work is second to our relationship, which is always going to take first.
I don't understand how you just turn it off. Like
It's hard.
like, yeah.
But
It's
that
hard
is a skill set.
practice. Yeah, it takes lots of practice. Takes maturity for us to be able to do that. Because probably a few years ago, it would be like, you're eating dinner in the living room. I'm going to our room. Like, we just need some time away from each other. Or I would go to my parents' house and be like, I'm just going to eat dinner here. Yes. But now we're like, okay, no, that is not a healthy thing for your marriage. Nothing we do should affect our marriage because we love each other at the end of the day. I think that's what you just have to kind of center. You have to bring yourself back to center and realize like, what's more important? Is it the money or is it your relationship? Or like, if the relationship was gone, would you be happy? If the money was gone, would you be happy? The answer is probably like, if your relationship's gone, you would be pretty miserable, right? You can make the money at any time anyway. I think that helps us. But yeah, there are some my brother-in-law is in one of our group chats because he's a partner in one of our entities. And I swear he probably is like, how are they husband and wife? Because we'll be going at it in a text. He doesn't even say anything because he's like, let them work it out because they need to figure out themselves. I'm not about to have an opinion. So then he lets us like go at it. So he's probably the closest person who gets to experience it. And he's probably like, how are you guys?
You guys need a TV show.
Yeah.
There needs to be an HGTV show around the two of you guys.
Yeah. And of course, it's like Anam and Aamir are having silent fights over text. And it's really over like the business and the bottom line and timelines. And then
After work, they just like take off the jerseys and they're all good to go.
yeah.
But you also got to see where it's like, if you took a step back and actually saw where it's coming from a competitive nature. It's not because we're not arguing just because we hate each other. It's because we're both competing throughout the day, every day, and like we want things to work and succeed. So it's from a competitive nature. It's not from just
For sure.
Yeah, you're not. Yeah. But that does probably come. Every couple has arguments. So we're not perfect, but we do try to. We do try to navigate it and be like, okay, this is not the end of the world. Just get over it.
Before we move on from the dinner, I was just imagining Anam going to her parents for dinner, but then Aamir being like, hey, so where's my dinner? And you're like, in the fridge, second shelf.
I mean, there's always dinner in the fridge.
She'll probably leave me a sticky note on the fridge.
Yeah, without a heart.
Half a heart.
Okay, well, let's pivot a little bit. So how do you stay aligned? Like that's a great role, and I love that. Sometimes we remind each other of like, they stop it at dinner. like, let's put it away. But how do you stay aligned in business? Because you are in different roles and you both want to grow and scale and you keep pivoting, which is great. How do you come to terms with that? Or are you just, does one lead and one figures out the method to get there?
I think we both kind of like always put in like some kind of like idea of where we're trying to go or what we're trying to do, or why one thing might work better than the other. And it might just take the other person a second to kind of just reset there and like think about it and realize. But I don't think we've ever had a point where we just went two separate ways and then we stuck with it. Like we always come to some kind of medium of like, hey, it's not going to be your way and it's not going to be my way, but it's going to be a blend of both of our ways. Or I don't know.
Yeah, I think I said this last time to you guys too, but I think that vivid vision exercise is actually really beneficial. And I know he had done it a few years ago when you guys were all together. And I think I took that and we came home and did one together because I was like, well, do our visions align?
Yeah.
You know, like you ask like high level questions, like I want to get to X this and X that, and very like, you know, tactical like goals, but they're like, what is like a perfect world look like to you in 5 years or 3 years or in 10 years, right? So I think when we sat down and did that exercise and we realized we kind of essentially want the same things, is our path to get there the same? Probably not, because his things that excite him and that he was excited about being like able to accomplish in 10 years is probably different than what my items were in 10 years. But we were able to then sit there and talk about it and align ourselves as in these are kind of similar. We can do it through this method and it gets us to the ultimate goal that we want, which is, you know, what everyone wants, to be able to do whatever you want, whenever you want, right? And so I think once we figured that out and like what that exactly meant for us, I think it just helps us every year kind of realign ourselves. So like every year, we're not always really good about it, but we do try to take out a day to sit down and like go over data from the prior year, numbers from the prior years, accomplishments from the prior year, and then talk about what's to come. What do we want to accomplish this year? What do you want individually? What do I want individually? And then how do we make it one, basically? Because you're allowed to have your own goals and you're allowed to have your own, you know, like you want to be your own person, but if you're building a life together and a business together, you also do, to your point, need to be aligned or else they won't ever function correctly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's been pivotal or at least foundational in your success, because as competitive as you are, you're both going for the same goals. You want to better your lives and others, right? And so with that clarity and that vivid vision, you may navigate it a little bit differently, but it's for the same shared goal.
Yeah.
For couples looking to get into the business, especially with the way markets and rates are, but are scared of where the market is going, what would you say to them? What would you suggest?
I mean, honestly, if you're ever going to do anything, there's never going to be a right time to start anything at any given point. If you set your mind to it and get going, I think that's the only way to actually start on anything. Because if you're going to say that rates are bad today and you don't want to start real estate, that has nothing to do with it, honestly. Like, as much as people talk about rates are so high, you should not get involved. Like, that's not the basis of real estate. Like, rates are high and we're still doing stuff. So it's not like we stopped. And it's not like millions of other people in the world have stopped. Like, real estate is still moving around. Like, so there's never going to be a great time to start anything like until you should just go ahead and just get going. But yeah, besides that, it's just like, there's so many other facets too. Like, you know, if rentals don't work right now, like real estate is such a big segment that you could be doing so many different things in it too. So like, it's not like you have to get started with rentals. You could be doing flips. You could be doing private money lending. You could be a realtor. You could be opening a property management company for people like us who have properties that just maybe don't want to manage it themselves. There's so many avenues that you can get involved in, and not necessarily everything has to revolve around rates or how the current market conditions are.
Yeah, I think that's good. I think if you boil it down, like what you said about it never being the right time, it's not, right? Even when you look back and everything was great and you wish you would have bought 20 more properties, it's still, you can't think of it like, I'm going to get in, I'm going to do this one deal, it's going to be a home run, and then I'm going to retire and I'm going to go live on the beach somewhere. right? Because that's not reality. You're building a business, and you may have to wander down different roads in order to figure out how to make money on it. But if you look at it like it's an education, this first one may or may not work. I think it will work, but I'm never going to know unless I go through the whole entire process from buy to sell or buy to rent or whatever it's going to be, right? You kind of have to go through your schooling, right? No matter what. Yeah. I like that, Aamir, because you're right. So many people are sitting on the sidelines right now, and they're just, I'm going to wait for the rates to get better. Why? Then it's just going to be more of a frenzy.
Exactly.
Let's have more competition. Yeah.
And even if you look back, like maybe, I don't know, if throw it back like 25, 30 years, like we had rates in the 10s and 12s and 15s. I think they were pushing 17s and 20s. Like it was up there. Like it was high up there. People were still doing stuff. And did they turn out way better? I'm sure they did, because back then the homes were $20,000, $30,000, and now they're nowhere near there. I'm sure they're turning out just fine, even though they did. And they were the ones who actually made moves during those times, right? And so if you made moves during times like these and you look back 20, 30 years from now, you're going to come more than likely will be coming out ahead.
Correct. And right now you're just sharpening the saw, right? Like you're going through the motions, you're getting better and better and better at your craft. And then when the market hits right, again, you're going to make even more money because you're that much more dialed in. And, it's funny that you say that about like interest rates being so much higher in years past. It's, we do these real estate meetups every month. We do just a meetup at a coffee shop out here, and we have investors that come out. And a few months ago, I printed out the average interest rate for a 30-year fixed home over the last 50 years. And if you were to look at this, the average, if you took all the last 50 years and average it down, it's still almost 7%. So you're right. Like what we saw a few years ago in the 3s and 4s, that does not happen.
Yeah.
Right. 2% interest rate. That does not happen.
Yeah.
So, and it's probably not going to happen again. Or if it does, it probably won't be for another 50 years. So realistically, like guys have been flipping houses for as long as there's been houses around. So if you can do it in 5, 6, 7, 15% interest rates, you can do it today. Right. So the rates don't matter as much. I'm curious because you guys both grew up in family businesses, right? And you're obviously have very, very strong work ethics. How did growing up in family businesses kind of shape your definition of work and wealth and really your worth?
I think, it definitely teaches you how to have like a strong stomach to handle things that come your way. Because when you're running like small businesses, there's stuff that's falling apart or breaking at almost any given point, whether it's staff not showing up, equipment going down, angry customers, whatever the case may be. But you go through all of that. And if you're going through all that at a young age, you can start having the stomach to handle these things as they're coming your way. It also gets you through business like life cycle. So like, I'll tell you like, this month might've been great. And yes, you do have a little bit more money in the bank, but the next 3 months sucked and you literally made nothing and you basically just worked for free, or you possibly even lost money. So you can kind of like, as you go through business itself, like just growing up, I think it just makes you more aware of how to like stay nimble and make changes as you need to quickly.
Yeah. So like, even like, to that point, right? Like there was being in a family business and then that being what, pays the bills for all of us growing up. There was the whole side of it. Like, yes, there were months where maybe it didn't do well, or when the economy took a downturn in what, 08, 09. I mean, things changed very drastically, probably in both of our households. And you basically start having to put a lot more. Everyone has to pitch in. Everyone's responsible for doing a shift in the business or putting, basically paying their dues, because it's a livelihood. It's how the bills are going to get paid and how the roof stays over our head. Right. And so I think that going through that with our family businesses teaches us also now to be like even that much more in tune and aware of our finances and the market, to then never ever have to go through days like those again. I think we can probably both talk about some really dark days that we both experienced growing up, just simply because of just the, entrepreneurship is so great in so many ways, but it can be so bad also in so many ways if that is the only income stream for your family, right? So I think because having experiencing that in our both individual ways, I think that's what makes us a little bit more, I don't know, frugal in one way too, like, and like, I guess more like on top of it. Cause we never ever, again, like we don't ever want to experience that again. We don't ever want our families to ever experience a day like that again. So like, it makes us work harder, longer. It makes us want to get bigger and basically make everyone around us do better just because we don't ever want anyone else to experience that.
Yeah. And also even on the work ethic side, like, it's just like, as you grow up into it, it's just like putting in reps, right? Like our days were 12 or 14 hours. And that's all we grew up knowing. Like that was standard days, like 12, 14 hours. You pretty much don't get any weekends to yourself. Like you're going to be working Saturday, possibly Sunday, you know? So we, like, as you put in those reps early on, now it's easier, right? Because if you're doing 12, 14-hour days, you're just like, okay, this is just like a regular day. And like, you know, if you're doing anything less than that, you kind of feel like you're on vacation. So yeah. So I think just putting in the sheer amount of reps since growing up and working all those hours, I think that just
I think too, also, like, I think that that's such a misnomer of what entrepreneurship looks like. And you being able to see the mom and pop side of it as well as like more of a business model, because it's not just being a small business owner, it's actually treating it like a business and then being able to scale. And not all entrepreneurs can do that.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. I think that does help being able to see both sides of it because, yeah, you don't ever want to see the other days again.
A book, a person, or a place that inspires each of you.
I know this is really hard. I don't
know if, okay, I can't contest to a book. I don't think I've actually sat and finished a full book. I'm very big on like documentaries or like, I will always have something on YouTube going on in the background and it'll always be revolved around what I'm trying to do at the moment. So like, you know, when we actually got into real estate, a lot of our knowledge came from YouTube, which was like a lot of the bigger pockets and honestly, anybody that was involved in real estate, we were just throwing something on there. But yeah, most of my stuff will come from there. And even now, like as we're getting in more into new construction, all my stuff that I'm watching is based on that.
on YouTube.
Yeah.
So YouTube is a source of inspiration.
Yes.
I don't know if I don't think I have a person or a book necessarily, because again, I don't think I have one, but a place. I will say when being in like nature, I will say that is probably when I probably function the best is if I'm near mountains or a beach. We live in Dallas, so we don't get the benefit of either. That's when I just feel refreshed and not burnt out, when I can go smell like fresh air. So I guess my inspiration comes when I get to reset in a location that has just Mother Nature, like, you know, and I think that it's a weird answer probably, but I think that's how I then rejuvenate myself into being like, okay, I'm ready to hit the ground running when we get back home.
Yeah, I think, well, to her point, it helps us because we're so much on the go at all times and there's so many things happening at all points. Whenever we do get away like that, it's kind of like, you're in the mountains, you're pretty much disconnected. There is no service out there. So that is like the only time we would actually be able to disconnect and actually relax is when we go away to someplace like that.
Is that something that's difficult for you, Aamir? Like you seem to be so enraptured in your business. Like you love it. Do you have a hard time letting go and relaxing in nature, or are you like switch off and like just meditate by a lotus pond somewhere?
I mean, I do like those days. I don't stop thinking about it. I think about different things when I'm out there. It's not like my day-to-day stuff, but it's more like, hey, what's our main things that we're working on? Or what are we trying to actually do here in the next like few years? How are we changing? What are we like, you know, what are we focused on? How are we growing? Anything like that. Basically it's time to like, for my thoughts to just be with me when I go out in nature. It's not the focus on the day-to-day of what's going on here or there.
Yeah. In just one sentence, what would you whisper to your younger self if you could meet them today?
I would probably make sure that my younger self knows how to leverage everybody's skill set. Because when we originally got started, we were doing everything, like literally down to putting in like toilet hardware on the last like day before somebody's moving in to, like random stuff, right? Things that would take us hours because it was just not our skill set to do those things, right? There was some stuff that we're really good at, pretty much putting anything together we sucked at. So that's what I would mention to my younger self. It's just like hire and let people do what they're really good at doing, and you focus on doing what you're really good at doing.
Nice.
I would say for me, for my younger self, would to just be to keep going, just to like dream big and keep going because you can accomplish it. I think we all often say it right now. Well, we just look at each other and like, remember the days when we just wanted X, and we're like, we've surpassed that and done so much more, and we're nowhere near stopping. And I think that it's just when you're young and, naive, you're like, I'm never going to, this is the most impossible thing to ever achieve. Right. So like, yeah. I think just making sure that reminding my younger self to just keep going because you're going to do good things or great things.
Yeah. We like to say we learn, we share, we grow. What's something you've learned recently that's made you stop, breathe, and see life a little differently?
It's a saying. Okay, so for me, it's a saying that my best friend used to tell me all the time, and like has recently been saying it a lot more, is we don't cure cancer for a living. So nothing we do is time sensitive. Even though we all think it's time sensitive, we're not curing cancer here. So to take the time to go out on a walk with each other, or take the time to go on vacation, even if it's for a couple of days, or take the much needed mental health day. If you're going through so much shit in a day, just take that 2 hours to be like, I'm going to do nothing and it's fine. So I think she said it to me a few times recently and I'm like, you're right. I'm not curing cancer.
Yeah. I'm gonna kind of piggyback off that too. It'd be very similar to that. It's because like you get so great in what you're doing for a living versus like what you originally got started in this for. And so to kind of like go backwards and make sure that, you're putting in time into your friendships and your families and making sure that you're, staying in touch with everybody and doing what you used to do before you got involved in all this, and just keeping all those relationships and the things that actually matter, together.
Yeah. Guys, you're awesome. And we can sit here and talk with you guys all day, but I want to be respectful of your time. If our audience wants to connect with you, see your work, what's the best way to do that? And, if they want to get involved with 1121 Capital, is that something they can do as well? Or is that just family and friends?
Yeah, no, we'll take any investors are interested in, earning some extra money. So you can find us on Instagram. It's thehashes.invest, but we're active on Instagram. And if you are interested in investing with us, you can either click the link in our bio or message me through DMs and I'll answer anything. Or if you have questions on anything about us or our business, ask away.
Guys, thank you so much for coming on with us today. It's always awesome talking with you both.
Thanks for being part of the family today. If you want a closer look at our journey through real life, business, and all the wild adventures, follow us on Instagram at Our Family Invest. And for free resources to help you on your own path, head to ourfamilyinvest.com.
If you like this episode, send it to a friend. And if you're feeling extra generous, drop us a quick review. It really helps us grow this community. Thank you so much for being part of our family today. We really, truly appreciate you.